Good morning, Crystal Palace. How are you doing? This is Galina.Rin and the Upper Norwood Library Hub's Library Lunch. Yeah, this is our little daily show where we bring you folks within your community. We try and build some connections between us all, make us all feel a little bit more happy just to live in Crystal Palace because we love it. It's so nice. So, yeah. The library is closed at the moment, so I am in my own little studio at home bringing you today two lovely ladies. One's called Barbara, one's called Janet, and they are going to be responsible for a theatre production that is going to be live streamed on the library's pages, and it's called Victorian Women in Bed. Hello, ladies. How are you doing?
Hi.
Good,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
So tell everybody who you are and what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Janet Goddard, and I've written a play called Victorian Women in Bed. Well, 5 short single voice plays about Victorian women who actually did take to their beds in dire situations, and it's about their experience of being in bed. All the plays take place in bed, so it's a very comfortable for the actors, as long as they don't fall asleep. But that's who I am.
So your actors are actually in bed, are they?
Well, no, because on Zoom they have to be in different places to make it work. But the audience have to imagine them entirely in bed. Yeah.
That's good. And so I'm assuming you've made the decision to go with having your actors on Zoom and a live stream because of the whole situation. Was that a difficult decision for you?
No, it was a decision, and we had to change the plays to incorporate the Zoom experience. But no, it wasn't a difficult decision. It was fun. It's been fun, getting the actors up and running on Zoom, and for Barbara and me to work with them. And yeah, it's been fairly stress-free, I must say. It's been lovely, and working with the library.
Sorry. We were originally meant to be performing live in the hub, and obviously we had to completely readapt our plans, and Janet readapted the 20-minute plays that we had for all the women into much shorter versions, as she said. And it's been interesting because it's a learning curve for everybody at the moment. Oh, and by the way, I'm Barbara Hardy, I'm the producer of the play. And when I'm not producing plays, I'm doing tours around hidden London as well, and working in schools as well, doing various things with interviews for A-level students and things like that.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. I'm just going to take a little time out here to just welcome everybody to the stream. Thank you very much. We have Beatra. We have
Hi.
Emily, Helena. That's very close to my name. That's lovely. Emily, Helena, George, Richard are all online with us. If you guys have any comments or questions that you would like to give to Janet and Barbara, please ask them in whatever social media you're currently on, and I shall pass it on to them because we have the technology. Oh, yeah. So how did you guys get started in the whole theatre experience then?
Well, we both were at the Manchester Youth Theatre, which has produced some famous, illustrious alumni. And we were in a Mike Leigh play, for those of you that know Mike Leigh, in an improvised drama. And we took it on from there. And I have worked with improvised drama with children in various schools. And Janet, I'll hand over to you for what you did after the theatre, because it's much more related to it.
Yeah. Well, I worked first as the youth worker at the Royal Court Theatre back in the day, obviously. And I did that for 2 or 3 years with a fantastic chap called Gerald Chapman, who went to work for Stephen Sondheim, running a young writers festival in New York. And I stayed here because I got an Arts Council directorship at the Liverpool Playhouse. So I went up to Liverpool in the early 80s, which was a time of extreme difference to now, because it was a very, very, very poor city. but with fantastic writers. So I worked a lot with new writers and with people like Jimmy McGovern, Willie Russell, Alan Bleasdale, Phil Redmond I worked with on Brookside when he set that up. So I spent a long time in Liverpool, really enjoying being extremely creative and with a phenomenal number of creative people. So just as I left Liverpool, just before I left Liverpool, I produced a film called Letter to Brezhnev, which is still on screen now. My friend's going to see it on Wednesday in Crosby, she told me. So, you know, my life lives on in Liverpool. But that's my experience mainly. And then when I came down to London, I started writing for the Theatre More.
There's quite a lot
I've
of
written quite a few plays that have been on in quite a few theatres, but you know, everybody seems to have enjoyed them. But you know, and I've enjoyed doing them as well. Yeah.
There's many years of experience then between the two of you. That's amazing. Is there a certain type of ethos or any kind of aim that you try to do in your writing at all?
Well, I mean, the ethos of all my work has been to encourage and to celebrate creativity from any source. You know, I'm not somebody who wants to go searching for a superstar in any way whatsoever. I like gathering people together and and Barbara does as well, obviously, creating. And I think Mike Leigh inspired us in that you get a gang together and make a phenomenal creation using everybody's input and everybody's imagination. So that's the aim of anything that I do.
And I suppose from the audience perspective, we just want people to engage with it, have something to take away and think about, and just to enjoy and be sort of encompassed within the performance. I think that's really important, that people enjoy it and go away and think about what they saw, and maybe even explore the history of particularly these women, because they're so fascinating.
Was there a special process you had to go through for creating a live streamed version rather than in real life, as we call
it? Well, we did, as we say, they're single voice plays, whereas the theatrical versions have got several characters coming in and out of them, and we use men and women to play both men and women, so it's a fairly random thing on stage and on screen, because sometimes, you know, that it works better actually. To cut across gender sort of delineation, and also the actors that we use engage very deeply with the words that they're saying, which it suits me as a writer, rather than searching out people who look like the characters or who look like the women that we're portraying. So we did change from the plays on stage, because now they are single voices sitting in bed with a pillow which represents their significant other in life. So they can talk to that. And you find on screen as well that actors, if the actors are engaged with the pictures they're creating, the audience will immediately engage with that picture too. So that's what we've really worked on, the visual imagination, really. Yeah.
Okay. So
have you got anything to add, Barbara?
Not really, no. I think that covers it all.
But you've done a lot with the Facebook and the website and the actual communication with the audience, haven't you, with the potential audience?
A bit of a challenge, I have to say, having not done any social media particularly in the past. This has been, but it's been fascinating, and I'm enjoying it. We're doing quizzes on our Facebook page about the Victorian era, which people seem to enjoy. And you know, building an audience for the hub and for us, and it's just quite interesting. And the website as well, because we're liaising with our website developer who's in Spain, and you know, just trying to sort of decide what we do and how we update the website. But I've enjoyed it. Yes, it's another facet for me to add to my tours and to my schoolwork and my production work.
I think social media management is such an integral part of everything now. So I think that's a great feather in your bow to have. Feather in your bow? No. String on your bow, feather in your hat. Yeah. There we go. I think it's a very key skill. And the fact that you're doing polls and things, that is quite high up the social media marketing ladder. So you're doing, that's great. That's great. I think we should have some of your polls on our Facebook page as well. Would you give us some of that content perhaps that we can start using on our page as well to try and push followers for this?
Yeah. We do want to do a big quiz at the end before we go on screen with you. So maybe the Library Hub and the Victorian Women could, do the quiz. I mean, you don't get much of a prize, but you get something, don't you, Barbara?
Yeah, well, we can offer free tickets to the next live performances. Yeah. We get back into the theatre or into the Hub or wherever. Yeah, so it's possible. Yeah.
People just like playing games. They just like playing games. People just love it. They love it. Yeah. They love it. So you've obviously adapted really well to this new environment you find yourselves in. How have you personally been dealing with the thing that's been going on the last couple of months, I guess?
Well, I'm on that register, where you can't open a window except on a Tuesday, sort of thing. So, but I got round that because I wasn't. I didn't feel too ill. I didn't want to absorb myself in ill health, really. So I've enjoyed it. It's been good because in a way as well, as somebody who lives on their own, everybody else comes into your camp. You know what I mean? They've got a taste of a sort of isolated life, So it's quite interesting. And although you don't want it to go on forever, obviously. And
no.
You don't want people like school children to be isolated. You want them back in school and doing whatever they do out in the world. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that anyway, it's been fine.
Well, Rin, you probably haven't got long enough to hear how I've had to personally adapt.
Just give us a brief.
I'm fairly OCD anyway, so this has been like the biggest nightmare for me in loads of ways, and found it quite challenging, shall I say. And also having a husband working in the kitchen for the last 5 months has not been the easiest either. Much as we get on very well, it's not that easy to be together all the time. And so, yes, it's been interesting. Yes, I've had to learn to sort of breathe lots and sort of think about, happy places whilst my OCD kicks in, or when it kicks in. But apart from that, everything's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. And we haven't seen each other for ages, have we? I mean, when was the last time? It must have been January or in Debenhams in Clapham Junction, which will have gone now, won't it? They've probably closed down. So I don't know where we'll meet, because our haunts have closed up, packed up. Yeah. But anyway, we can meet soon, can't we?
Yeah.
I find myself to be quite lucky that my fellow owns a bike shop. So he has been at work the whole time, and he works really long hours. So
that's good.
That wouldn't have worked here.
Yeah. Which bike shop? Because we go to the one in Beckenham, and that's really good.
Okay.
Dean's Garage.
It's called the Bicycle Workshop. It's in Tooting High Street, actually, right by Tooting Train, Tooting Station.
I know it. Yeah. I go up that way quite a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're just a workshop, so they don't sell bikes. They just work on bikes, and obviously that was
handy,
good,
though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty handy. It's pretty handy. So why don't we talk about your characters? Because I think that's, there's the theatre side and like working out the new way of production, but then there's also these interesting characters that you guys are touching on. So would you like to talk about your characters a little bit?
Yeah. Well, there's 5 women that in the plays. Queen Victoria as a young woman, Mary Shelley, who's actually pre-Victorian, but we don't mention that. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Florence Nightingale and Emma Hardy, whose husband was Thomas Hardy. And those women, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Emma Hardy, and Florence Nightingale definitely took to their beds at one part of their life or another. And it's exploring the reasons for them taking to their beds, because Elizabeth Barrett Browning was in bed for a substantial length of time before she left England for Italy with her husband, Robert. And she did manage to get out of bed then. And her life in bed is quite interesting, because although she did have some sort of illness which put her in bed, it was also a control mechanism. And although it's not mentioned in the play, her mother had 12 children. And I think Elizabeth very much didn't want that experience. And so ironically, by staying in bed, she avoided being in bed with a man and making babies, you know, although she and Robert did have a child later when they were in Italy. But so it's quite interesting the ways in which being bedbound for the sort of middle or upper class Victorian woman gave them a sense of power and control. And we explore that, although not all the women have that, and that's not mentioned necessarily in the plays. But in a time when women had low status, being in bed alone could give them higher status, because whoever came into the room had to come in as permitted, not just barge in and order the woman about. So, you know, it's an interesting venue for a female to spend their time in.
And Queen Victoria is quite an interesting one, because her mother made her sleep with her in her bed for, you know, until she was 18 and a half and crown queen. And she sort of put her foot down and said she was going to have her own bed and all the rest of it. So you know, she wanted to take control for herself after that. So that's quite an interesting one as well.
But sadly, because Lucy Worsley's been doing Queen Victoria on the radio, and when she did get her own bedroom and her own bed, which was a thrill to her, she also had all these women of the bedchamber who slept in a room next door. Even when Albert joined her in bed, these women were very, very close. So she was never, ever on her own in her bedroom ever again. You know, I don't think she really experienced any time when she didn't have somebody else hanging about in the room with her. So, you know, she didn't entirely achieve what she set out to achieve when she demanded her own bed and her own bedroom. But also with Queen Victoria, it's also interesting that bed springs were invented about the time that she became queen. So they were probably more comfy than those sort of strings and bits of cloth that you had underneath your sort of bed frame before then. And it probably did make for a more springy night, you know, with Albert, you know. Yeah, so I don't know, but yeah, she starts us off anyway. Yeah.
And then you've got Mary Shelley and Emma Hardy, who are both sort of not complaining, but sort of conscious that they feel their husbands have taken more credit for their own work. Is that right, Janet?
Yeah. Because Mary Shelley, I mean, she's not known for staying in bed at all. But in the play, she's in bed with Percy Bysshe Shelley, her husband, who is no longer alive. So, you know, he's a ghostly presence in her life. And she wrote Frankenstein when she was 19, but he took ownership of it. It was published initially with his name as the author, and he did the preface for it. And so our play takes place in 1831, when Mary's actually publishing it again in her own name and taking ownership of Frankenstein, which is one of the most phenomenal creations, you know, the creature of Frankenstein, in terms of I mean, I know now he's seen as a horror creation, but actually when she wrote him, he was a very political phenomenon in that he represented people who are unacknowledged by the society, the early 19th century society. So anybody who's, we have people like that now who find it difficult to be acknowledged or to be put into the center of communities or societies because of certain aspects of their identity. And that's what she was really writing about. And the play touches on that, this sense of being excluded from a world because you're a woman or because you're Black or because you're unattractive. So those sorts of exclusivities Mary objected to. And she objected to them very strongly and very politically when she was alive, you know, as did Shelley as well.
These seem like very forward-thinking individuals and characters. Have you stuck quite historically to the storyline, or have you taken? Are there some what is it called? Artistic creativity in places? I mean, how historical is the play to your characters? Historically accurate.
Well, I think I've taken from the characters, from the historical characters, aspects that I think are dramatic, so they're not, they're dramas. I mean, the plays are dramas, and they're, all the women are at a crisis in their lives when they're dramatizing a certain thing, which I think, a historian would say, well, yes, those things did take place, but they are dramas. They're not, they're not historically, they're not inaccurate, but they are dramatic. So I have read up on, I haven't just made it up, I have read up on the characters. Yeah.
Okay, we're coming to the end now. So if people want to watch this show, what time is it on and where can they find it?
Thursday, 20th of August at 19:45 or 7:45 p.m. And it's on the Library Hub's Facebook page, and I think it's going to be streamed on YouTube as well. But if you want to visit our website, which is just Victorian-Women.com, you'll find all the links and information there. I don't know, is there anything you want to add, Rin, to that?
No, I think you've covered it. I mean, well done, amazing, yeah. So it'll be on our live stream channel. I have just put the website link in the comments for you all, so there's no excuse for you to miss out on this awesome piece of theatre. Yeah. That is actually the first in a run of live streams that we're doing from the library for the All Alone Together project, which is an Art Council funded project, and this is the first one. Hooray! You get to be first, ladies.
Yeah, it's nice always to be a first. Yeah, thank you.
Just like all the nitties that are in your characters, they are firsts as well. All these people who did first things too. Amazing. That's all we have time for today. So thank you very much for joining us. I don't know who our guest is going to be tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure that they're booked in just yet, but I'm sure this is what happens all the time. It's live show, so never know what's going to happen next. It's fantastic. Anyway, I hope you guys have a really nice day. I would just like to thank all the folks who have come and joined us. Jolie has joined us. Beatra, who else is? There's loads of people. There's hundreds of you today. Emily, Richard, George, Helena. I think there was Alison as well on another stream. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there was Alison. Hello. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you've had a nice morning, and we will be back tomorrow. Thank you for joining us, ladies. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.